Hello everyone, I am Muskan Thani from Legal File, your host for today, and today we have with us Advocate Rahul Tiwari. Hello sir, I hope you are doing good and I would like to welcome you and thank you so much for accepting our invitation today.
Thank
Um,
you, everyone.
yeah, so just tell us something about your life as a student and your college life. How was it?
The college life, I can divide my college life into two parts. Before I'll tell you something that, I actually failed in my LLB also. So I can divide my college life into two parts. Like, the way the world divides, it's, functioning that pre-COVID era, post-COVID era. Or, they can say that pre-Keshav Nanda Bharati's India or post-Keshav Nanda Bharati India. So in the same way, I can divide my college life into two parts: pre-failing, before failing in LLB, and post-failing in LLB. So I was a student in IP University, and then I was like, actually, I wanted to move out of Delhi. I wanted to explore some, other city, and I wanted to, explore the other parts. So I thought that I should give it a try. So I just gave exams, so I couldn't crack CLAT. And it's not that I should blame anyone, but I should actually blame it to myself that I was really, really casual at that time during my preparation, and to which I regret till date. I appeared for the Bharati Vidyapeeth exam and Christ University, and I luckily I cleared both. But interview in the interview part of my selection in the Christ was stuck, and I got finally accepted in Bharati Vidyapeeth, and my All India rank was 2. So my college life was like All India rank 2, then failing in LLB, then becoming a researcher. So it was like this. So before failing, I was like, when I reached Pune, the most happening city in India, more than Mumbai. Trust me, if you actually want to enjoy your life not in the negative manner, but you actually the essence of Pune is like, that it is such a safe place that even a girl can move around in any part of city even at 3 a.m. at night alone. That's the beauty of Pune, and it has the best college life also. So I actually got carried away, and studies was at my last priority, and I was being counted as one of the hooligans actually of my batch. And in fact, I was a regular visitor at my principal's office for disciplinary issues. And then, due to my casual attitude, first time I didn't appear in the examination in one subject, in family law. And then in the second which I had to supposed to clear it, I fell sick, and again I could have attempted, but I didn't. Then you can call it my casual attitude, and I actually failed. From there onwards, I decided to change it, because then I realized that I had already wasted a year before coming to Pune, and then another year got wasted. So I should say that the entire fault was mine and no one else. As it says in
Right,
Bhagavad Gita, that whatever happens to you, whether it is good or whether it's bad, it is only you who is responsible for this, no one else.
of course.
So in that year, I actually utilized it, and I joined an advocate, and who Sulalit Singh Sisodia ji, and luckily it turned out that uh, he was a briefing counsel of senior advocate Geeta Luthra. So for
No.
entire year, I worked under him, and later I came to know that in that whole year, the office, he has a lot of variety of criminal cases, from divorce cases to most of these cases for of CBI cases. Okay,
Mm,
he was dealing a lot of CBI cases. He was assisting Geeta Luthra ma'am. He was a briefing counsel of Geeta Luthra ma'am. So I met her like on 3 to 4 occasions. Also, I actually saw her arguing that how she see, because if you intern under her, you can see only one side of picture of Geeta ma'am. But when you are interacting with her through someone, then you actually get to know that how she actually listens to a case, how she prepares her draft, and trust me, even at that age, she was more hardworking than me and my senior. So that's where, and I have seen her arguing in few courts where the judges were approximately like 30 to 37 to 38 years of age, and she had an experience of 36 years at that time. Now she had an experience of close to 41 years. So I actually saw her conduct. So that's where I realized, and lucky, you can say, like, it turned out to be a blessing in disguise that for whole complete year, the office didn't had any other intern, the office didn't had
Wow.
any other junior except me. So it was me who was doing all the work, from the filing to meeting the court staff to convincing them there is coming just 10 minutes. So, and then when the senior is when the senior is arguing, then preparing the notes, that what he's arguing, what the public prosecutor is saying, preparing all the notes, coming back to the office, briefing the senior that this has happened today, and then Sisodia sir was so kind that in the evening. He used to tell the office boy that, okay, bring this thing to eat and this, and he used to say, okay, Rahul, take out that journal and study that judgment, and then he used to tell me, now ask if you have any doubts. So every day I used to have, like, 30 minutes of coaching from him. So a lot of things got cleared from Sisodia ji. And before Sisodia ji also, I would like to personally thank Sri Santosh Pandey sir. Santosh Pandey sir, he came to Delhi in 1994. He completed his education from DU, and he has 24 years of experience now. And he has just purchased a house for himself in Defense Colony. And I had actually interned under him earlier in 2014. So when I actually failed, so I still remember the date, that it was 19th or 20th of August 2016, and I went to his chamber that, sir, actually this has happened, I have failed, so please give me internship for 1 year, I'll learn under you, I'll work under you. So he was like, Rahul, there is no, Rahul, there is an issue, because already from his relatives, or I would say his known background, there were 2 to 3 advocates who were working in his chamber. So he said that there is not much space in my office, and you will not learn anything as of now, which you should do actually. So right now, so I have actually rented out my old office of Lajpat Nagar to a new advocate. Have you seen the
Mhm.
office space that I have seen? So his name is Lalit Sisodia. You join him and you learn a lot. He's a specialized criminal lawyer. I was like, fine, sir. So he just called up Sisodia ji. I said, Sisodia ji, actually, there's a student, and he's actually a family friend of mine, and his father has actually called, and he's very disturbed. Please assist him. You don't have to, uh, look, because he's not even an advocate, he's just a student, so he'll work for you for 1 more year, just teach him. And then and obviously, like, if you call an advocate and tell him that there is a student who has failed in graduation, please give him a space in campus. So obviously you will say no. And obviously that was the reaction of Mr. Sisodia. I was like, sir, actually, I don't have much work, actually, say, please, I'll let you know. And Santosh sir was, अरे सर बताने की जरूरत नहीं है, अरे रख लीजिए सर, बच्चा ही है सर, सीख लेगा आपके पास, सर प्लीज आप रख लीजिए, हाँ हाँ हाँ, आप प्लीज give him some work. So that was an incident, and when I went to his office, he actually thought that I am Santosh Pandey sir's nephew earlier. So that's why I gave him. That's why he gave me, an opportunity to work under him. And I knew that he's thinking me that I am Santosh Pandey sir's nephew. And I thought that, okay, I should not clear his doubt so quick. Let me adjust myself for like 1 or 2 months. When I'll cement my place in my office, and then I'll tell that, okay, no, I'm not a nephew of Mr. Santosh Pandey sir. So that is how I actually ended up there. And after working for like 1 year, my outlook towards litigation, law, and in fact, the every aspect of life was different now. Was different, because that's where I learned that Sisodia sir was, I guess, in his 8th or 10th year of 10th year of practice. Okay, so that's why I always advise everyone that if you actually want to learn something, intern under an advocate who has a practice of ranging between 8 to 12 years. Okay, like if you go to an advocate who has a practice of 20 years, obviously he'll be well settled.
Right.
He'll be
Yeah.
settled. He'll be earning a lot. He'll have a huge office. He'll have a huge number of juniors. So where you will find a space to
Right.
learn.
Right.
So always find an advocate who has a practice from 8 to 12 years of experience, who has an experience of 8 to 12 years. And that is where the most of the advocates starts actually, expanding their practice, like from the junior advocates, because now they have an experience of 10 years. Now they know everything. Then that's where they start actually expanding their practice and the other commercial aspects also. And that is where you actually learn that how you actually grow in the
Yeah.
real sense. So that was the journey. And then when I came back to Pune, I was a changed person. In my last 2 years of my law school, I had a place reserved in my playground, or some kind of shops, and with my friends, which we used to call it an adda. It actually changed, and now I had a place reserved in a research cell. My seat was reserved. Like I used to come to my research cell by at 10 p.m., 10 a.m., and I used to leave by 5 when the library used to close. So even all the juniors knew that, okay, Rahul Bhai is going to come and he'll sit there. So even if someone used to sit there, the teacher used to also say, please finish your work because that guy will come, and then because actually, it was a corner seat in the research cell, and I actually developed a fondness on that seat, and I used to study whole day and used to write research papers and all. So in last 2 years, I ended up like presenting 17 research papers. I had 5 research
Wow.
papers published, and as of now, like I have what do you call it? Just a second. What do you call it? Like I have presented 25 research papers. I have 7 research paper publication, and this is my like 20th webinar.
That's
So
great, honestly.
yeah.
Yeah. So my next question to you is how many internships you have done, and particularly in which area of law, and which one was the best internship you have ever done? Like I know you have just like told me about your internship experience, but yeah,
No, that was not an internship. That was actually a training, which actually was
training
provided to
experience. Yeah.
me by God. Actually, it turned out something else. But after Sodia sir's episode, I explored the other area, and in my end of 4th year, I worked in a Hari Global firm. It was a corporate firm. I worked there, and then actually in 2018, then again another accident happened, just like this. Actually, in 2018, my mother was diagnosed with TB. So, and she was like, fine, we'll take, my father was also like, we'll take care of her. You go to Pune. And I was like, how can I go to Pune in this state? How am I going to study? So I just came to know that IP leaders are offering internship. So I thought that if I apply in IP leaders, which is Glossico, means the co-founder is same, no,
Hmm.
Ramanuj Mukherjee.
Hmm. Yeah.
So if I apply and if I get an internship, so I can get a month extra to stay with my mom. So I applied and I got selected. So
Wow.
obviously, apart from staying with my mom, that is one place which actually changed my life, and that is where I actually learned about the techniques of legal research. And after that, I was like presenting. I was presenting like 2 to 3 research paper in 2 to 3 research paper every month, and that kept on happening. And now you can see the tally. And then yeah, so this is what I can say that yeah, this was my internship experience.
Wow.
Total roller coaster ride, and yeah.
Yeah.
So
So you have been very active on LinkedIn, posting updates and legal content. But on a different note, tell me if you were active on social media, even during your college time. Like always, active to share. And basically, my question is that would you have been like able to share deliberate issues or the legal happenings if you were in college, active on LinkedIn?
I was very active on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
but because of the ideological war which has actually started in Facebook, right wing against left wing, this party versus that party, this religion versus that religion, this ideology versus this ideology. I suffered a huge setback, and in Hindi, I can say that I actually before deactivating my account, I my last status was like आप कितना भी अच्छा post डाल दो Facebook पर. I wrote that Raita, who has people who has to scribble a lot on each and everything, on each and everything, no matter what you post. So I wrote that आप कितना भी अच्छा post डाल दो, रायतावादी ताकतें रायता फैला देती हैं. And again, it actually happened. And one of my junior, I got a fight with one of my junior. I got into a very heavy argument with one of my junior due to some political differences. And there was a very heated exchange, and he was actually going to lodge an FIR against me that my senior has said these things on to me, and I was like, yeah, you started, you said these things. So in response, I know being your senior, I should have kept my calm. I shouldn't have told all these things to you. I apologize. But yes, if you want to take a legal action, you are in third year. I have finished my LLM also. Feel free. Then it was intervened by my few other colleagues also. And then that's where I decided that, yeah, no more Facebook. And then I started using LinkedIn from June 2020. So, and the first thing I swore to myself on LinkedIn that I'm not going to post anything political on LinkedIn, only professional work. So you can see, and now I use Facebook for I come to Facebook only for 2 to 3 days in a month. I post few important details about me or some photographs or something. I share a few photographs and then I again deactivate it. So it's for me for me social media is only like I sometimes I use Instagram also, but mostly it is LinkedIn now.
That's great. Okay, so to be on more informal note, we'll play rapid fire. So I'll be asking you a few questions and you have to quickly answer them, whatever comes up to your mind related to that question. So your first question is your attendance in college. How much was it?
See, as I told you that my college life was divided into two parts. But yes, my soul was always in the classroom, but somehow my body was not used to be present in the class. But yes, my soul was always there in the class. But regarding the attendance in the research cell and in the library, in last 2 years, it was 100%.
Wow. Okay. So your second question is one professor who always used to cut your attendance.
Everyone. Because
So there's no single one.
because of my rendezvous, I would say of initially first 3 years of my college life, I was not in a good books, but yeah, I used to make up with my externals and internal marks, so that attendance marks I used to always compensate.
Okay, so your best college experience.
Best college experience, I would say actually, in fact, the best college experience, there are actually not one, but there are actually many. You know, you can say that when my research paper was first time it was selected, to be presented in NLS Bangalore, it was a huge thing for me. Or I can say that, best college experience, obviously it has to be my research paper presentations. Yep.
Okay. If you would have, if you are given a choice to change your profession, what would it be? And I'm sure ये सवाल हम सबके मन में आता है एक ना एक बार.
See, because I'll tell you something, because after passing out of my law school, first thing I worked was on Babri Masjid case. I got a chance to work on
Wow.
Babri Masjid case, and then I worked in district court for a few months, and then I actually joined coaching. And in Rahul IS, I have paid fees, but then due to Delhi riots and then COVID-19, like, all these things started. So then I thought that no, I should actually. Then I realized that yes, no coaching is going to start for like next 1 year. So why shouldn't I give focus for one complete year to litigation? So that's where when the whole world was sitting at home, luckily for me, one of my college senior whose family has a very good reputation in Gurgaon District Court and who's himself is a very hardworking advocate. He completed his LLM from UK. So I approached him that if I can work under him. So I started interning in May 2020. When the whole world was at home, I started my litigation career, and he had so many cases, and especially the check dishonor cases 138 and Negotiable Instrument Act. And in next 5 months, I ended up drafting more than, because he was a panel member of many finance companies. So in next 5 months, I ended up drafting 700 complaints. So now, as of now, if you can wake me in the night and even from my sleep, then if you ask me regarding especially the check bounce cases, that now what will happen, I can tell you this. Now this will happen. But again, the teaching, what I said that I had a interest from the start. So I started doing webinar also. Luckily, my webinar got good response. So one thing led to the another. I now few days back I just finished my second course on drafting. Also, you can see the response on the LinkedIn, the kind of response I'm getting. So as of now, I have completed 2 batch of drafting course, and where I actually taught 11 classes. I gave them 20 modules, and I selected 27 students to whom I'll give internships. Means I'll assist them getting internships, and all these things happened for just 99 rupees. So the purpose was just to teach. And as of now, I have taught, apart from my legal practice, I can say that I have taught 390 students as of now.
Amazing.
And the
That's
other purpose is
wow,
that,
that's
yes,
amazing.
because I was actually preparing for judiciary, and I joined Rahul IS, and the name is similar. So I was like, fine, if I'm not able to study from Rahul IS till then, I mean, till the time I don't study, I don't get a chance to finish my because I had enrolled in the evening course, because I was like, I'll practice in the morning, I'll study for the rest of the day, and then I'll take the evening batch, and then I'll prepare it accordingly. So then I decided that yes, till the time I don't get a chance to study from Rahul sir again, let's try to become Rahul sir. Let's try to at least become at least 1% of that great gentleman, Mr. Rahul Yadav sir. So obviously, so all these people, not only just one, I would say that starting from Santosh Pandey ji, Sisodia sir, Manish Lama bhaiya, Rahul Pandey sir, sorry, Rahul Yadav sir, all these things, all these people actually has worked in I can say directly or indirectly in shaping my personality. And yes, one profession. That's why I said that it has to be teaching. If not an advocate, it will be teaching.
All right. So, if you are given a chance to amend any provision of any act, what would it be?
Uh, Chance to uh, any act. First of
Yeah.
all, I would say actually I had written 3 issues actually. Yeah, because that's what I used to tell you. Then first thing, I would strictly implement 50% of women reservation across all fields. 50% strict, whether it's educational institute, whether it's government job. Apart from the fact with that where it should not be there, but in most of the cases, whether it's judiciary, whether it's civil service or any other, and especially, see, all these are services, okay, because there you are working under someone. But most importantly, if given a chance, I would strictly implement 50% reservation in every legislative body, from Gram Panchayat to the to the Rajya Sabha level, not the Lok Sabha, but till the Rajya Sabha level. Like 50% of reservation for women should be mandatory. That's what I strongly feel. Okay. And second thing, obviously, I would like to change about the caste-based reservation. That yes, I strongly feel that still there is a lot of caste-based reservation. Okay, in India, sorry, discrimination in India. There needs to be they actually need reservation, but it has to be, it has to be strictly implemented, or I would say strictly executive for just one generation. It's not that that caste-based reservation is being done, and like four generation are taking advantage of that. So it should not be the case. And the last thing, that if I am given a power, then I would strictly take suo motu cognizance. Suppose if I am a CGI, then I would strictly take suo motu cognizance against the rapid growing privatization, especially in the education and healthcare sector. So I'll tell you a reason for that first. And if you say that no, I'm just trying to be a kind of revolutionary person, no. First of all, if you are doing a law, and that's what legal research has actually taught me, that actually think over it. Why and why it should be. Like, for example, in Keshavananda Bharati's judgment, it was clearly held that India is a socialist country. So if we follow the principle of socialism, I've got nothing against capitalism. I'm not against the private public partnership also. Okay. But there has to be some kind of boundary drawn, especially in the field of healthcare and education. I'll tell you, because in the socialist structure, I'm not saying this. Many people accuse that it was forcefully inserted in the 42nd Amendment in the preamble. I would strictly disagree with that, because in the Keshavananda Bharati's judgment, it was clearly held that India is a socialist state, and we follow what should I call it, that we follow a welfare state structure, and education is one of our fundamental rights. So in socialist structure, what actually happens is that your basic needs of life, like education, healthcare, means of transport, the energy sector, in most of the cases, the government should have the maximum, not entire, but the maximum control, because there the motive will be motive will be the service, not the profit motive. Okay.
Yeah.
As of now, like I can say that if you can see that, can you tell me an engineering college better than IIT? I'm not going to take any name of any private college. Can you please
I
tell
mean,
me in
IIT is any day better. That is why it's considered to be amazing.
yes, yes. Can you please tell me a good management college better than IIM? Can you please tell me a good law college than NLU?
NLU, right?
These are government. Can you please tell me a good medical college than AIMS or the government one?
No.
If you see, even if the doctor, even if you go to AIMS or RML hospital, even if the doctor belongs to a reserved category, that doctor has finished his MBBS, he has cleared the exam, only then he is appointed as a doctor. And
Right.
you can clearly say that with the quality of doctor in such reputed government hospital is always all in fact, in most of the cases, to be politically correct, it is always, most of the cases are better than the doctors or the educational institute in the private sector. Why? Because there the motive is the profit, not the service.
Right.
That is one thing I would like to change. And yeah, last time, because it was happening second or twice, last time actually I was asked that are marks important or extracurricular activities, right? So I would say they are both, because if marks are not important, then fail ho jao. I'll tell you, see, and today, why am I saying this? I'll tell you, today I completed my LLM with distinction. So now I can say that yes, marks are also important equally, not 60-40, not 70-30, 50-50. I'll tell you why. Because when you are going to score good, when you will score good marks, when you will consistently study, When you keep, when you score good marks in your internals, when you have a good attendance, which I didn't had in my law college, in my, that's what I realized from my mistake now. So when you will keep consistently scoring high from your internals to your externals, only then you'll score good marks overall, only then your aggregate
Definitely.
will be good. So when you keep on scoring good marks on regular basis, that's where you develop an habit of working consistently. So if you're good in your extracurricular activities, suppose you are a very good researcher, you are a very good debater, you have done a lot of moods, but you are scoring poor marks, then see, you study for entire year, but how many moods you do in 1 year? Two, three. How many research papers you will do in 1 year? Three, four. How many papers will get published in 1 year? Three, four. So that becomes in parts. So what does it reflect? If your marks are poor, that you are lazy. You have a habit of doing well in parts. Okay.
Yeah.
But at the same time, suppose you are not doing well in your extracurricular activities, you are just scoring good marks. Then you don't have any innovation. You are a clerk. Why? Because being an advocate, you have to think rationally, you have to think logically, you have to interpret things in a lot of different ways. And that's where your extracurricular activities, especially your research work, yeah, not moot courts, your research work will help. So both the things, your marks and your extracurricular activities are equally important, because you can see that you can find that people will say no, marks are not important, extracurriculars are important. Some will say that extracurricular activities are important, marks and studies are not important. If you see, and if you say that the 3 years of examination is not going to decide my destiny, then can you say the same thing during this judicial service examination, where your entire destiny is decided on what you write in those 3 hours, in your mains examination or your prelims examination or during your interview? So that is what I keep on telling everyone, that both are equally important. Like suppose if you if you implement it in the real life, if it's like asking, if someone asks that are marks important or extra co-curricular activity important, so it's the same kind of question. If someone asks that is family life more important or a professional life? So that's what I say, that both are equally important, and the winner is one who actually makes a balance. I'm not saying that I have actually made a balance. I'm in a process. I'm working hard. When I'll make it, I will do another webinar and I'll say, yes, I have actually found your balance. Okay. So that's what, from my, very short, I would say, experience, I can say that, yes, I have learned this thing, and that's what I feel like sharing this to everyone. Because if you actually see, if you compare me with your other panelists, I mean, the other advocates which you have called, I might be the most inexperienced among all those. But the point was that I actually wanted to say something which should be actually extremely different from what you actually hear from my other seniors. Like suppose if they meet me outside, obviously I'll pay them respect because they are my senior. But yes, if this is my point, then I'll keep this in this manner only. If I disagree with them, it's not that obviously if I am disagreeing with them, the disagreement will be just for 10%, not for the entire part. 90% of the time I would say, yes sir, I agree with you, I'll keep learning from you. But yes, 10%, yes, that certain kind of agreement has to be there, and that's what it creates the difference between you and them, yourself and the others. So
Right. So, sir, tell me about your firm and if you have been providing internship opportunities to students. If yes, then please tell the viewers as to how to register for the same.
see, I have just started my firm. Okay.
Mhm.
If you see, if you look into my house, I have just converted half of my drawing room and one of my room in my third floor as my farm. So I've just started it. So it's too early, for me to say that I'll be offering internship, because I'm in a very early stage of my career. And that's the point, that whenever someone's actually approached me for internship, even if I'm not able to provide, I actually reply to each and every one of them that if I am able to provide, If I can refer them to any firm, I refer them. If I'm not able to, I simply say that I cannot help you out at this moment. But the thing is, I reply to each and every one of them because it's not very long, but just few years back only, I was at their stage. So I replied to each and every one of them. And as of now, my firm, I have just started my firm. Basically, it's a criminal law firm. Okay. And obviously, my firm, apart from my criminal law practice, it indulges in the online teaching also. Okay, so these are the two areas. And as of now, out of 390 students which I have taught, 237 with IJLR and 153 with Just Corpus, I have selected 27 students already for the internship. So I select students for internship only those to whom I actually taught. So I have to give preference to them. So obviously, I'm going to place those students under good, very senior advocates, and only then I can assist anyone because obviously they are the one who has paid, irrespective of the amount. They are the ones who have paid fees for my online classes. They are the ones who have attended the classes. They are the ones who have completed the assignment. Okay, and they are the ones who have submitted the answers and they have regularly participated in the class. So I have to give preference to those 27 students first.
Right. Okay, so with this, to wrap up our whole session, and thank you so much again for accepting the invitation. And I have just one last question for you. Any suggestion or advice on the basis of your personal experience you would like to give to the viewers, especially the law students and fresh law graduates?
Okay, then this has to be twofold. Law students, don't keep this thing in mind that from third year onward that I want to become a judge, or I want to become a corporate lawyer, or I want to become I have to go into litigation. Obviously, explore each and everything in first 4 years, and keep your final year. Okay, like if you have by the end of fourth year you have developed an interest in criminal law, then devote your fifth year in your networking. Okay, if you have developed an interest in any particular area, then develop your interest. And if you strongly feel that yes, one has to go to the judicial service preparation, then give your fifth year entirely for preparation. So that, because after your law college, once your law college is over, you might not get sufficient times to prepare from the start. So it is extremely essential that uh, in the final year itself, you are done with the most of the preparation, or at least the concept of both the substantive law and the procedural law are clear. Okay, and to the fresh law graduate, especially because I'm not in the corporate field, I'm into litigation. Okay, so I would strictly say that if you really want to do justice to your life, stay away from Supreme Court and also from High Court for first 3 years. At least from Supreme Court for first 3 years and High Court from first 2 years. Give 2 years of time strictly to the district court, nowhere else. And once you are done with the district court, and it's not that just work under criminal law. If you want to become that, you developed what do you call it, a self-proclaimed ego that I want to become a criminal lawyer or something else. No, don't do that. Give time to all the fields, because unless and until you experiment, okay, unless you won't be able to understand that where your interest actually lies. I started my career as a criminal lawyer, and now more than my litigation career, I'm getting more recognition for my teaching. Okay, so something are not in your hands, something actually happens naturally to you. Okay, so let that happen. Explore more and more area for at least for a year and a half, and only then, I suppose, like if you belong to some tier 2 or tier 3 cities, it's actually good now. Like you don't have to come to Delhi and increase the crowd. Come to Delhi, take experience of tribunals, because tribunals are something which you won't find in each and every district. Okay, take experience of tribunals and then start your own. And suppose you're living nearby in the metro cities, not just the Delhi NCR, but if you're not in the Delhi NCR, suppose you if you're whether you are in Delhi NCR or you are in some other metro cities where you have tribunals, at least for a year and a half, strictly give your time to at least for 1 year only to district court, and then start exploring the tribunals, whether it can be income tax, which applies for you also, Muskan, and then uh, NCLT, you have a lot of tribunals, and then when you have gained enough experience for 2.5 years of district court and tribunals, then only move to High Court and Supreme Court. Before that, it is a sin, because that's where
Correct.
you will never develop a concept for yourself. And in fact, the clientele, see, no matter how good you work, this is the advice for the first generation advocate, because all those who have lawyers in their family, they won't be needing advice from me, they have a lot of people to advise them. It is for the first generation advocate like us, like me, actually. So that's where, because you will to the fresh graduate, you will only, no matter how good you were, no matter if you have returned from UK or US after doing a LLM, nobody is going to give you work, because nobody knows you. Who are you? Okay, obviously. So you will
Yeah.
develop your clientele in the district court only. So that's what I advise each and everyone, that start from the district court, and only then, see, there are two approaches: bottom to top, bottom to top, and top to bottom. Top to bottom approach, like starting from the Supreme Court, then coming to uh, High Court, and
High
then going
Court.
to and then coming to district court. On there, the success rate, to the best of my knowledge and experience so far, it is less than 5%. But the 95% success rate you will find from the bottom to top, starting from the district court, tribunals, high court, and then Supreme Court. You will end up getting more success compared to the other. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. And with this, we end the stream.